Imagine this: an admiral from the United States, Admiral Richard Byrd, embarks on a journey beyond the Antarctic Ice Wall in Antarctica, and what he sees there, my friend, is nothing short of vast, extraordinary, things beyond comprehension. After completing his forbidden expedition into the frozen unknown, Byrd returns to the US only to be met with absolute silence. The American government refuses completely and absolutely to let him speak a single word about what he witnessed. The only details that slip out are mere fragments, whispers of a truth too dangerous to reveal. Perhaps even those fragments weren't meant to be shared. But Byrd, determined to deliver his message, refused to let this knowledge die with him. Knowing the weight of his discovery, Byrd entrusted his hidden knowledge to his children, instructing them to publish the book he had written after his passing. And when the book finally surfaced, its contents were beyond terrifying, revealing truths so shocking they defied belief. But here's where it gets even stranger. Fast forward to today, thousands of unidentified drones have been spotted swarming the skies of New Jersey, hovering over military bases and nuclear stations. No one knows where they're coming from. The government has no answers. When questioned, officials simply shrug and say, "We have no idea where these drones are originating from." This is not a joke. This is real. Millions of people are tuning into news broadcasts and following high-profile accounts discussing these drones. But what makes it even more chilling is how all of this ties back to Byrd's story. And then there's Joe Hattab's expedition to Antarctica, an event that turned into an absolute disaster. He exposed something they didn't want the world to see. He even sent encrypted messages before things spiraled out of control. If you haven't seen his footage, you need to. It's beyond mind-blowing. And let's talk about Antarctica itself. No one truly knows what lies beyond the ice wall. Not a single person has filmed beyond it. They say it's the end of the earth. They even forbid planes from flying over the South Pole. So my friends, grab a cup of tea, coffee, or your favorite snack, because what you're about to hear is stranger than fiction. This is the story of Admiral Richard Byrd, a tale that will leave you questioning everything. Joe Hattab, my friends, is a YouTuber, but not just any YouTuber. His specialty? Exploring countries and taking us along for the adventure. You could say he's a modern-day explorer, always on the move, uncovering the world's hidden corners. One day, an opportunity knocked, an invitation to venture to the edges of Antarctica. Of course, Joe, being the adventurer he is, jumped at the chance, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. He packed his bags, set off on the journey, and as always, documented every moment. But when he finally released the video, it was a shocker, a real bombshell. And for whom exactly? The flat earthers. Now here's where things get interesting. The video found its way into the hands of one of the biggest flat earth believers out there, Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi. And let me tell you, this guy isn't just some random conspiracy theorist. He's convincing. When he speaks, you feel like he's delivering cold, hard facts. Dr. Ahmed dissected Joe Hattab's footage and, according to him, exposed some shocking truths. If what he says is correct, then what he uncovered is terrifying. He points out key details, breaking them down one by one. If you're curious, you can find the big reveal around the 2:30 p.m. mark, the story of Richard. But honestly, I highly recommend watching the entire video for the full context. It's mind-blowing. Now, Joe Hattab mentioned something peculiar. There are only two ways to reach the edges of Antarctica. One, from South Africa, a flight that takes around 5.5 hours. Two, by ship from Argentina, which sails to the very tip of Antarctica. And here's where things get even weirder. Joe unknowingly dropped some serious red flags, things that only Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi later pointed out. For example, you can't just fly to Antarctica from anywhere in the world. Nope. Only abyss routes exist, South Africa and Argentina. Why? Who decided that? And get this, if you're flying from South Africa, only one airline operates the route. Just one. Let that sink in. Out of all the airlines in the world, only a single company is permitted to fly there. Why? It gets crazier. A simple 12-hour trip to Antarctica? $15,000. Wanda, want to stay for a week? $105,000. That's not just a price tag, that's a bad barrier. Ew. It's as if they don't actually want people exploring Antarctica, which raises the question, what are they hiding? Alright, my friends, let's set everything else aside for a moment. So they say the high prices are just a way to make money, right? Maybe they're just trying to profit from these trips. But here's the catch. Only 400 people get just travel there per year. 400. That's what Joe Hattab pointed out. Now tell me, if someone truly wanted to profit, would they limit it to just 400 people per year? And at these insane prices, it just doesn't add up. Something strange is going on here. And here's where things get even weirder. Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi has noticed something bizarre, something that even Joe Hattab himself found strange. You can see it in his reaction. At one point in the video, Joe seems puzzled, as if he stumbled upon a hidden clue. Let me tell you exactly what Joe Hattab said. He asked a simple question. Why can't you fly over Antarctica? If he wanted to fly across the South Pole and continue onward to Dilidix, New Zealand or Australia, that should be possible, right? Just a straight flight over Antarctica and boom, he'd be there. But no, they don't allow it. Instead, here's what happens. Imagine he's trying to complete a full circle, flying from one side of the world to the other over Antarctica. But Itsali, the moment he reaches the South Pole, they force him to turn back, so nobody is allowed to fly over the ice Antarctica. Why? Let me give you another example. Imagine I'm in Argentina, I want to fly to New Zealand. In theory, a direct flight over Antarctica should only take about 3 hours, maybe even 2. But guess what? That flight doesn't exist. Instead, they make you go the long way around the entire Earth, like Samotumana in a 16-hour detour just to get to New Zealand. Why? Now, here's where things get somebody chilling. Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi explains the real reason. If you fly over Antarctica, you won't just reach New Zealand or Australia. You'll keep going to places we don't even know exist. Let that sink in. Other continents, unknown lands, the thought alone is terrifying. What if there were other continents, places humanity once discovered, but decided to keep hidden? Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi suggests that one select few have ventured beyond and seen these unknown lands, but instead of revealing the truth, they chose secrecy. One of these men, Richard. His story, my friends, is legendary. Now, let's go back to Joe Hattab's question. Why can't flights over Antarctica reach New Zealand? Why would they take you somewhere else instead? Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi gives an answer that will can shake you to your core. It's because the Earth is flat. According to him, if the Earth were truly a sphere, you could easily fly straight over the South Pole and land in New Zealand. But that's not what happens. Instead, you're forced to turn back, making an unnecessarily long journey around the globe. And that's where the great debate once begins. Flat Earth versus globe Earth. But why does this debate even exist? Why does it matter so much? Here's the chilling part. If the Earth is a globe, then all its resources are already accounted for. But if the Earth is flat, that means there's a something beyond the ice wall. Something they don't want us to see. Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi claims that behind this massive wall of ice, there are the untapped riches, resources beyond imagination, and some powerful nations are either already exploiting them or keeping them hidden until the time is right. And then there's Richard. Richard's testimony is crucial. In fact, there's a video where he speaks openly about what he saw. According to him, there's uranium, yes, uranium, the key to powerful weapons. There's oil, massive reserves of it. Now think back to Joe Hattab. He wanted to take a simple 3-hour flight to New Zealand, but instead they forced him to turn around and take a 16-hour detour around the entire world. At that moment, even Joe himself asked, "Is the Earth flat?" It was a strange thing for him to say, almost as if he was trying to hint at something. And here's another disturbing detail. Joe Hattab was invited to visit the edges of Antarctica. You don't just go there, you're chosen. Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi even had a friend who applied for the same trip. He was willing to pay anything to go. He offered Biza as much money as they wanted. And what did they say? They rejected him. Not just rejected, warned him never to apply again. They decide who goes. And the real question question is, why? Now I know what you must be thinking. Why so much secrecy? Why all this extreme muddy restrictions, Tai, over a place that's just wahais and penguins? What's really out there? Think about it. There's only one airline that flies to Antarctica. Only one. And why did 59 countries yet sign an agreement ensuring that this region remains off limits? What's so important about it? Why has no one, not a single person ever shown us what lies beyond the ice? All we ask is for a single clear video, and it's something real, something without censorship but nothing. And then there's this discovery, 2 videos, just 2. One captured the South Pole, filmed for the 24 hours later, tracking the movement of the sun. The other, the North Pole, filmed the same way. A simple video experiment, right? Just a side-by-side comparison. But here's where it gets disturbing. Someone used basic editing software to lower the brightness on both videos, and what they found, shocking. In the North Pole, the footage looked completely natural. The sun moved the way you'd expect. Everything seemed real. But in the South Pole, it was fake, completely fabricated. The sun looked stretched, warped, unnatural. It twisted and bent in ways that defied reality, and when the brightness was reduced, there was no real light source. No reflection on the land, nothing. It was as if it wasn't even the real sun. And people noticed. The comments speaking under the video were nintiyon brutal. The foreign viewers ripped it apart, calling it a complete hoax. So I asked again, why lie? Why manipulate what we see when it comes to Antarctica? The sun itself, the very thing that proves whether Earth is round or flat was altered. And that's why this video was a disaster for them. Now, before we dive into Richard's mind-blowing story, let me tell you how Joe Hattab ended his video in what became one of his most watched episodes. Joe closed with this chilling phrase, coal, oil, uranium, and penguins. But forget a coal and penguins. The real story? Uranium and oil. And that, my friends, is where things get truly interesting. Between 1928 and 1957, at exactly 6 a.m., the world stood at the edge of a mystery. The aircraft was ready, fully fueled, every system checked. The crew prepared for what seemed like just another expedition, but little did they know this flight would uncover something so unbelievable, so shocking that people would still be debating it decades later. At 6:10 the engines roared to life, the aircraft lifted off, and with it, history was about to be rewritten. Inside the cockpit, Admiral Richard Byrd meticulously recorded every detail. He knew this mission would be challenging. The aircraft was the conditions unpredictable, but he was prepared for anything, or so he thought. After approximately 1 hour and 20 minutes, the time hit 7:30 am. Byrd checked in with the Wata base camp via radio. Everything was normal. The radio signals were clear, the flight was going smoothly, but at exactly 7:47 am, things took a terrifying turn. A sudden oil leak started pouring from the right engine. Byrd immediately checked the oil pressure. It was stable. That was a relief. For now, the journey continued. At about 8 am, they encountered light turbulence coming from the east. They were flying at 2,321 feet, but to stabilize the aircraft, Byrd made a decision. Drop altitude to 1,700 feet. The turbulence eased, but the challenges weren't over. From one difficulty to the next, the aircraft held strong. It was old, yes, but it was tough, like it refused to give in, and then at 9:10 the sky suddenly cleared. The air became a calm, and that's when they saw it. Colors, impossible colors. Beneath them, instead of the endless white ice what they expected, they saw the vast landscapes madikasa, shimmering in celestin, yellow, red, and even shades of purple. What was this place? Bird made a quick decision. Change course. He had to see this for himself. As they approached the strange colors, the inexplicable began to happen. Their instruments failed. The ain't gyroscopic compass spinning wildly. The magnetic compass completely unreliable. Every piece of equipment stopped responding correctly. Panic set in. The crew desperately tried to regain control, but the aircraft felt like it was being guided by an invisible force. There was no ice buildup on the wings. No logical reason for this malfunction. They had no choice but to rely on their abidi solar compass, but even that was failing. At Fushanin 15 Ambias, Richard Byrd looked ahead and saw it. A mountain range deep within Antarctica, and what they would discover next would defy everything like we know about our world. Here's the storytelling style translation of your text. The moment he diwadi, Admiral Richard Byrd laid eyes on the mitama, the mountain range without so something felt off. This isn't supposed to be here, he thought. According to every map, every scientific expedition before him, there were no mountains in this location, but there they were. The range wasn't massive, but it was still Widian and undeniably real. As they approached, Byrd decided to increase altitude to 2,900 feet, ensuring they could safely pass over it, and then they saw it. Something that shouldn't exist. Something that defied everything. They knew about Antarctica, a valley, but not just any valley, a green valley. Byrd's heart pounded. This wasn't right. It was impossible. Beyond those icy peaks, where there should have been only endless snow and glaciers, lay a valley covered in sun lush greenery. This can't be real, Byrd whispered. His crew rat was in shock. To the left asat he saw the forest, actual a forest descending along the slopes of the mountains. Hautkwa. This was Antarctica, the coldest, most inhospitable place on Earth. There was no way a forest could exist here. As Byrd tried to process what he was seeing, his instruments went haywire again. The AC navigation system glitched. The Yadas compass spun wildly. The crew was confused and disoriented. What was this place? Determined to investigate, Byrd lowered the aircraft to 1,400 feet and made a big sharp left turn. To get a closer look, the valley was covered in grass and thick moss, stretching far beyond what they could see, and then something even to the stranger happened. The Yun light changed. The Yun sun was gone, or at least it wasn't visible anymore, and that's when they saw it. At first, Byrd thought his eyes were playing tricks on him, but as they got closer, the realization hit him. Like a thunderclap, it was Baikamwa, a mammoth, a living, breathing mammoth. The creature moved slowly, its massive body covered in thick fur, exactly like the prehistoric giants thought to be extinct for thousands of years. Byrd's hands gripped the controls and tightly. He exchanged stunned glances with his crew. What was happening? They continued forward, flying low over rolling green hills, watching as more strange creatures roamed below them, and then something that should have been impossible happened. The temperature gauge read 74 degrees Fahrenheit, 23 degrees Celsius. Impossible. Antarctica was supposed to be freezing, yet here it was warm. Byrd knew they had to report this back to base. They tried the radio. Nothing. Dead silence. The signal was completely gone. At bang 11:30 the terrain began to change. The hills flattened, the forests gave way to sabbi, open plains. And then they saw it. And in a city, a real structured meant city. Byrd and his crew were stared in disbelief. This was no natural formation. Something had built this. And in that moment, Admiral Richard Byrd they had discovered Jehodin, a world that was never meant to be found. This wasn't possible. This wasn't real. Admiral Richard Byrd the Witchil mind raced, trying to process what was happening. He had come expecting endless ice, a land of nothing but snow and penguins. Yet now, his aircraft was light, too light, as if some invisible force was pulling it. And then the unthinkable happened. Two flying discs, sleek metallic, and one hovering effortlessly in the air, appeared out of nowhere. They moved with a natural but precision gliding silently through the sky before the arm locking into position, one on each wing of his aircraft. The plane shook violently. Byrd and his crew were helpless. The controls dead. The aircraft was no longer in their hands. It was being controlled by something else. At 11:35 Amiya, a faint static mark crackled through the radio then a faint voice, clear, controlled. It spoke in English, but not quite. The accent was odd, almost Germanic, yet manam, unlike any dialect Byrd had ever heard. "Admiral, we will bring you down in 7 minutes. Remain calm." The voice was calm, authoritative, and eerily composed. Byrd's heart pounded. Who were they? At 11:40 the radio came alive again. "Prepare for landing." The aircraft Bedokwi shuddered. Then it began descending, but not like a normal descent. This was different. The plane B wasn't falling, it was being lowered, like an invisible elevator, like they were being pulled into something. Byrd scribbled furiously into his journal, trying to record everything, and then he saw them. Men, but not ordinary men. They were tall, far taller than any human he had ever encountered. Their hair was golden, shining under an ocean unearthly glow. They stood waiting, as if they had been expecting him, and behind them, Byrd's breath caught in his throat. City, a city that pulsed with colors, red, blue, green, violet, shimmering like a mirage, yet standing buzzed and solid and real. It looked like something out of a science fiction dream. Yet Byrd knew one thing for certain. This was not a dream. This was real. And then Richard heard a voice commanding him to open the cargo bay doors. With no other choice, he obeyed. At this point, his official journal entries ended. This was the last recorded part of his written log. From here on, everything he shared came purely from Waichari Nareli's memory. Mahabi, Richard admitted, "I know this sounds unbelievable and many will find it hard to accept, but I have to tell it as it happened." He described being greeted with respect and kindness Maanda before being placed into a vehicle with no wheels, floating craft that moved at an incredible speed. It carried him toward the glowing city he had mentioned before. As they approached, he noticed something astonishing. The entire city appeared to be made of crystal. The colors he saw were unlike anything he had ever encountered, shades beyond human perception. "And remember," he said, "there are things in this world beyond our understanding." Upon arrival, they offered him a warm drink. He took a sip and was instantly overwhelmed. He had never tasted anything like it before. It was delicious beyond words. Moments later, 2 attendants arrived and informed him that he was to follow them. Richard felt he had no choice but to comply. They led him through a corridor bathed in soft pink light. The illumination seemed to always radiate directly from the walls. At the end of the passage stood below, at a grand door inscribed with mysterious symbols he couldn't decipher. As the doors opened, Richard stepped inside and was immediately struck by the beauty beyond human comprehension. He struggled to describe it, admitting that no words in any language could truly capture what he saw. Then suddenly he heard a deep, warm and commanding voice welcoming him. Richard turned and saw a figure. A man with sharp, delicate features. The being spoke, telling Richard, "We have allowed you to enter because you are an honorable and well-known figure on the surface world." Then came the shocking revelation. "You are now in the Aryan domain, deep beneath the Earth's surface." Richard's breath quickened. His mind raced, struggling to comprehend what he had just been told. The floating crafts that had lifted them from the surface had in fact carried them down into a hidden world beneath the earth. A world that no few on the surface even knew existed. The being continued speaking, revealing things Richard never imagined any human could know. He explained why Richard had been brought there. "We have been watching humanity since the Hiroshima bomb. The explosion had been a turning point, and in response they had sent to check in their ships." He mentioned their name, something like Flugokats, though Richard wasn't sure of the exact pronunciation. "Not to communicate with you," the being clarified, "but to investigate your actions." Then came a shocking revelation. "In 1945 we attempted to make contact with your people, but instead of welcoming us, you met us with fire. You destroyed our ships with your weapons." The being then issued a grave warning. "The future of humanity is dark. No knowledge, no military power will bring you safety. Chaos is coming, chaos beyond anything you have ever seen." But then a glimmer of hope. "After this great turmoil, humanity will rise again, stronger than before. When the time is right, we will return to help rebuild your civilization and restore your culture." Before Richard was sent back, he was entrusted with a message. A message for all of humanity. When he finally returned to his country, he was immediately detained. The U.S. authorities held him for hours of intense interrogation, with even a big medical team present, a sign that they took his experience that very seriously. And now, here is the message Richard was given, the message he was told to deliver to the world. "Your atomic wars have reached the point of no return. These wars threaten not only your world, but also ours, the world beneath yours. When you struck Japan, we tried to reach you, but our efforts were met with hostility. You rained fire upon our ships, driven by hatred and fear. And so I warn you, my child. A great black storm is gathering over your world. It is coming for you, and it will not pass for many years. The wars you will wage will crush every flower of your cultures. The wars you have seen so far are merely the beginning. What is yet to come is far worse, and with each passing day, the truth of this becomes clearer." I asked, "Do you mean we will return to the Dark Ages, that technology will vanish completely?" The being replied, "Yes, my child. War will bring about a new dark age. A black suffocating cloud will cover your world, and many of your people will perish. But after that, we will come once again to aid you. We will restore your culture and civilization. That is all I can tell you." Then he said, "Now, my child, you must return to the outer world and deliver this message." Yes, my friend, this was the message, a lesson for humanity. Whether you believe it or not, its meaning is profound. Later, Richard appeared in a televised interview. A real recorded video that still exists today, even translated into different languages. In that interview, he made an astonishing claim. Beyond the Antarctic Wall, there is a landmass larger than the United States. But more importantly, he said this land contains dilasan, oil and uranium. The very resources that nations would go to war over. Think about it, one of these fuels nuclear power and the other is essential for modern civilization. Wars bitoto will bash befought over them. Richard never spoke openly about everything he saw, he was ordered to remain silent. However, before his death, he instructed his children to reveal the truth into the world. He felt it was his duty, and so after his passing, his children published his full memoirs. Look at the man in the footage, calm, rational, a high-ranking official. This was not some random conspiracy theorist. He was an ambassador for the United States to the unknown. Would a man of his stature risk his family's safety for a fabricated story, even if the danger was man-eat? Only 10 to 15% would. Would he take that risk for nothing? This is what confuses me about the whole story. It's bizarre, unbelievable, but at the same time, there are the clues that make you wonder. For example, did you know that mysterious drones have appeared over New Jersey in the US? They hover over nuclear plants and military bases. And when officials are asked about them, they simply say, "We don't know." Think about it. High-level government agencies have no idea where these drones come from. This is real. The question is, who or what is behind it? If the United States in itself is being breached by these drones, it's a massive embarrassment. How can the man-world superpower fail to control a single drone that's flying over its airspace? How can it best not bring it down? How can it best not even identify its origin? Where are these drones coming from? It doesn't add up. At one point, the US military sent a fighter jet to intercept these mysterious drones. The jet reached their altitude, but nothing happened. As if the drones had some sort of superior control over the airspace. It felt as though something which was orchestrating their movement from above. Now let's go back to a Richard story. He described a civilization far more advanced than ours. Technology led the centuries ahead of what we have today. They controlled Admiral, his aircraft effortlessly. They showed him wonders beyond imagination. Could these drones be connected to them? I don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is that this drone mystery is real. Just search for it. Go on TikTok. Go on YouTube. The footage is there. Some reports even claim that when these drones hover above parked cars, the hazard lights start flashing, as if something is interfering with them. It's bizarre. And as the saying goes, Isat, there are things beyond our understanding. Now, let me be completely honest with you. I don't fully believe Richard's story, but at the same time, I can't completely deny it either. Maybe parts of it are exaggerated tuwak, like meeting some high-ranking entity or the underground. That part? I doubt it. But do I believe that there might be hidden lands, untouched resources, unknown life forms? Absolutely. Maybe there's a different kind of ecosystem, but do so with the other strange plants, undiscovered creatures. A place unlike anything we've seen, but giant human-like beings. That I find hard to believe. Maybe it's just imagination. Maybe it's something else entirely. I don't know, but one thing is certain, airspace over these regions is restricted. If you try to go there, you'll be forced to turn back. And that alone makes you wonder. If the Earth were flat, you wouldn't be able to travel in a straight line and eventually reach New Zealand. No. on a big video, flat earth, you'd have to max reverse course select at some point, you'd have to turn back and yet they haki force you to turn back. They refuse you to let anyone fly beyond a certain point. They want absolutely forbid it. Why is the earth flat you? That's the question. Anyway, my friend, this video was packed with information. It took a lot of effort to put together, so don't forget to like, share me the video, guys. Seriously, I'll be disappointed if the likes are low. Now let's talk about something interesting. The Quran says, and to the earth, how it has been spread out, and he made the earth a resting place for you, and he made the earth like a carpet, and it is he who stretched out the earth, and we have spread out the earth. There are many verses yet that seem to describe the earth as flat. Now, I'm not saying the earth is flat or round, but these verses exist, and there are strange things what's happening near the ice wall. Why won't they show us what's beyond it? Why can't we fly over it? Just let us see what's on the other side. That way we can end the debate once and for all. Even my scientists disagree. Some say the earth is Yaba sphere. Some claim there is a consensus ban on that. Others insist it's better flat. If you're curious, check out Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi Yado. He explains this in a clear and but a detailed way. His interpretations of the Quranic verses aligned for the perfectly with the flat earth model. So honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. The debate is intense. It's a heated argument. Flat earthers claim that beyond the ice wall there are the hidden continents and the living creatures. Dr. Ahmed Al-Sharafi even suggests that Antarctica has a portal and a gate to another world. Meanwhile, those who believe the earth is year-round say, no, this is the end. Beyond Antarctica, there's nothing but ice and penguins. So, which is it? Alright, here's the big question. What are more than 50 scientific research bases doing in Antarctica? Or rather, 56 bases scattered across the edges of the South Pole. Even Joe Hattabitz himself said, I don't understand anything. He was shocked. Why? Because the sun was blazing in Antarctica. Blazing? Dr. D. Ahmed Al-Sharafi Yonwa pointed this out. The sun's brightness in Antarctica should be similar to the Arctic. Both poles should have similar conditions, but if the sun is shining this intensely at the South Pole, it only makes sense if the Earth is flat. Otherwise, it should be just as dim as the North Pole. Now, imagine this. Joe Hattabin had to cover himself in sunscreen. Why? Because his skin was burning in just 5 seconds under that so intense sun. So Dr. Al-Sharafi claims this is not the South Pole, this is the mod edge of the Earth. And honestly, I just want to know the truth. What's beyond the ice wall, what's behind it, we need to know. We need answers. We need to understand. Some people argue that when the Quran says the earth is spread out, it only means it appears flat to the observer, but that ice wall, that massive towering wall of ice, it stretches as far as the eye can see. It's more impossibly tall. It blocks everything. It's like the world just ends with it right there, and maybe, just maybe, God has hidden things from us. After all, the Quran says, and He creates what you do not know. So what is out there? Now, there's a strange historical event in that people rarely talk about. A military base was set up in the ocean, and something happened. Something terrifying. There was an attack, but not from above, from below. It was so devastating that they had to abandon the base immediately. And then there's the Hitler theory. Some say Hitler was connected to this Antarctic world, that he had secret tunnels leading deep into the Buma frozen continent, that he was developing advanced weapons with their help, that his power again came from the madal. Now, is this true, Anma? I don't know, but Monty Richard's journey that was then documented. It was not filmed, it was none real but, not beyond the Ice Wall, but still real, recorded and verified, and the main photos existed. Your like and subscription mean everything. We're on the road to DD 100,000 subscribers. You watch Shakwahabas, guys. Let's make it happen. And to all the new subscribers, welcome. You've just joined an amazing community. Drop a like, share this video with anyone who loves mysteries and the unknown, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, and may peace be upon you.